If you clicked on this video, it means you're not just looking for a scary story. You're curious about something that doesn't quite make sense. What I'm about to tell you is not a legend, and it's not something I heard secondhand. This is a record of events as they happened to me, in order, without leaving anything out. I should warn you from the beginning. Some of what you're about to hear may be disturbing. My name is Daniel Reeves. I've been a ranger in Pine Valley National Forest for 12 years. Before that, I worked in wildlife control and search and rescue units across 3 states. On paper, Pine Valley is beautiful. Dense pine trees, long hiking trails, clean air, and deep silence that attracts campers and photographers. But what people don't understand is this: silence in Pine Valley is never empty. There is a rule here. It's not written in any manual, it's not posted on signs or mentioned in official briefings. It's passed quietly, ranger to ranger. If you hear a voice calling to you in the forest, even if it sounds human, stop, listen, but do not answer. When I first heard that rule, I didn't take it seriously. Every forest has its stories. Every remote place develops superstitions. But Pine Valley teaches its lessons quickly. My first real incident happened in late October. Tourist season was ending. Most trails were empty. The nights were getting colder and longer. I was on a routine patrol near North Ridge Trail. The weather was clear, no emergency calls, no missing persons reports. At approximately 11:40 p.m., I heard the voice for the first time. Daniel, it came from behind me. I stopped immediately. The forest went unnaturally still, no wind, no insects. Even the trees seemed frozen. I turned on my flashlight and scanned the trail. No one was there. Then the voice came again, closer this time. Daniel, come here. It sounded exactly like Alex, a junior ranger I worked with regularly. Same tone, same cadence. The problem was simple. Alex wasn't on duty that night. That was the moment the rule came back to me. Every instinct told me to respond, just one word, Alex, but I didn't. I stood there, breathing slowly, listening. And that's when I realized something was wrong. The voice was speaking, but it wasn't breathing. There were no footsteps, no movement in the forest to match it. Then the tone changed. The calm disappeared. Why aren't you answering? This time the voice wasn't coming from one direction. It was everywhere, between the trees, near the ground, behind me and ahead of me at the same time. I turned and walked back toward my patrol vehicle. I didn't run. I didn't look back. The moment I started the engine, the voice stopped, completely, as if it had never been there. That night, I didn't file a formal incident report. I logged it as North Ridge Trail, unusual auditory experience, no visual contact, patrol ended early. But I knew better. That wasn't imagination. And it wasn't the last time I'd hear that voice, because in Pine Valley the forest doesn't call just once, and the people who answer are usually the ones we start searching for the next morning. After that night on North Ridge Trail, I told myself I wouldn't think about the voice again. That's the first mistake people make in Pine Valley. They assume the forest is finished with them once the moment passes. It isn't. For the next few weeks, nothing happened. No strange sounds, no reports from other rangers, no missing hikers. But Pine Valley has a way of letting you relax before it reminds you where you are. In mid-November, we received a routine call from a couple camping near Dead Pine Creek. They reported hearing someone walking around their campsite late at night, whispering. They never saw anyone. They just heard a voice repeating the same sentence over and over. I can't find the trail. We sent Ranger Michael Torres to check it out. Experienced, calm, no history of panic responses. When Michael arrived, the campers were visibly shaken but unharmed. He searched the surrounding area and found no footprints, no disturbed ground, no signs of another person. But Michael did note something strange in his report. The whispering hadn't stopped when he arrived. It simply moved. Wherever he walked, the voice repositioned itself just beyond the beam of his flashlight, always close, never visible. Michael radioed in at 1:12 a.m., reporting auditory disturbance, no visual source. Dispatch acknowledged and advised him to conclude the patrol and return to base. That should have been the end of it, but Michael didn't return on schedule. At 2:05 a.m., dispatch tried to raise him, no response. At 2:17 a.m., they tried again. Nothing. At 2:29 a.m., we initiated a location ping on his radio. The signal came back, but it didn't make sense. According to the ping, Michael was still in the forest, but not on any known trail. The coordinates placed him in a section of Pine Valley that doesn't officially exist. No marked paths, no access roads, just dense, unmapped woodland. I drove out myself with 2 other rangers. When we reached the location, we found Michael's patrol truck parked cleanly on the side of the road. Engine off, doors closed, lights off. Inside the vehicle, everything was normal. Keys in the ignition, radio on, logbook open. The last entry was written at 1:41 a.m. Voice keeps calling from different directions. Sounds familiar? Almost answered. That line stopped all 3 of us cold. Because there's only one reason a trained ranger would write something like that. He was fighting the urge to respond. We searched until sunrise. No footprints leading away from the truck. No signs of a struggle. No blood, no damage. Michael Torres was never found. His case was officially classified as a missing person in wilderness conditions. Unofficially, everyone in Pine Valley knew exactly what had happened. After Michael's disappearance, the rule changed. Before, it had been advice. Now it was law. If you hear a voice in Pine Valley, you do not respond. You do not investigate. You leave immediately. Because the voice doesn't just copy people, it learns them. It knows your name, your tone, your habits. And the longer you listen, the more it sounds like someone you trust. After Michael Torres disappeared, Pine Valley went quiet in a way I'd never experienced before. Not peaceful, not calm, careful. Rangers stopped working solo at night. Patrols ended earlier. Dispatch logs became shorter, more cautious, and still the voice didn't stop. It adapted. The next confirmed incident happened in early December, involving a lost hiker named Evan Brooks, mid-30s, experienced outdoorsman, local. He called emergency services at 11:48 p.m., reporting that he'd wandered off the trail near Coldwater Pass and couldn't find his way back. Nothing unusual, until dispatch asked him what he could hear around him. Evan paused. Then he said something that made the dispatcher freeze. "Someone keeps calling my name." "They sound relieved," I picked up. Dispatch instructed him very clearly, "Do not answer any voices. Stay on the line. Follow only our instructions." Evan agreed. For the next 8 minutes, everything was normal. He described trees, rocks, snow on the ground. His breathing was steady. Then the tone of his voice changed. He said, "Wait, that's my sister." Dispatch asked him to repeat that. Evan hesitated. "She died 3 years ago, but that's her voice. She's saying she found the trail." Dispatch told him not to move, not to respond, not to follow the sound. There was silence for several seconds. Then Evan whispered, "She knows something only she would know." Those were the last clear words we ever got from him. After that, the call filled with background noise, wind, static, something rhythmic, like footsteps crunching snow. Dispatch kept talking. No response. At 12:06 a.m., the line disconnected. We found Evan's phone the next morning. It was lying neatly on a rock beside the trail, battery full, no damage. His footprints told the rest of the story. They showed him walking calmly off the trail, straight into an area of Pine Valley we don't enter anymore. No signs of panic, no running, no struggle, just steady steps, like he was following someone he trusted. That's when we realized the truth. The voice doesn't chase. It doesn't threaten. It invites. It sounds helpful, concerned, familiar. And it never asks you to do anything dangerous. It just asks you to come closer. After Evan's disappearance, we reviewed old case files going back decades. That's when patterns emerged. Missing persons who were never found. Reports of hikers hearing friends in places they couldn't possibly be. Rangers describing voices that knew personal details. Names, memories, regrets. One report from 1989 stood out. A ranger wrote, "The voice does not belong to the forest. The forest only carries it." No explanation, no follow-up, just that sentence. Since then, Pine Valley has never added warning signs about wildlife or weather. Instead, we quietly changed the language. Maps no longer show certain trails. night permits are harder to get, and new rangers wreck. A briefing that is never written down. I give that briefing myself. I look them in the eye and say, if you hear someone call your name, if they sound lost, if they sound like someone you love, do not answer. Do not reply. Do not say your name, because once it hears your voice clearly, it learns how to keep you. The rule about the voice wasn't always enough. Some people never spoke back and still didn't make it out. That realization came after an incident we refer to internally as the echo shift. It happened in late January during a routine overnight patrol. 2 rangers, clear weather, no reported disturbances. I was one of them. At 2:12 a.m., we were driving along the service road near Ridge Marker 14, an area known for strange acoustics. Sound travels farther there than it should. That's when we heard it. Not my name, not his. Just a voice, male, calm, close. It said, "You're not supposed to be here this late." Both of us froze. The radio was silent, no active calls, no transmissions. The voice didn't come from the trees. It didn't echo. It sounded like it was standing between us inside the cab of the truck. My partner slowly turned toward me. I didn't speak, neither did he. We both knew the rule, no response. The voice waited. Then it changed tactics. "I can help you find the way back." That was new. The voice usually imitates someone familiar to the listener. This one didn't. It sounded official, authoritative, like someone who belonged there. My partner reached for the radio. Before he could press the button, the voice said his name, perfectly. First and last. The radio crackled on its own. Static spilled into the cab, followed by a whisper layered beneath it. "You already called us." My partner's hand stopped moving. I grabbed his wrist and shook my head. Hard. He looked at me like he was waking up from a dream. The truck's engine stalled. Dashboard lights flickered. Outside, the forest went unnaturally quiet. No wind, no insects, no movement. Then the voice spoke again, softer this time. "Just step out. You don't have to go far." That's when I noticed something terrifying. The voice wasn't coming from one direction. It was coming from everywhere except the road ahead, like the path forward had gone missing. I restarted the engine without speaking. It resisted, then turned over. The moment the headlights came back on, the forest snapped back into place. Sound returned. Wind moved the trees. The voice vanished. We didn't talk the rest of the night. At the station, my partner wrote his report like nothing happened. No mention of the voice. No mention of the stall. Just vehicle malfunction, no incident. Before leaving, he asked me one question. "Did it feel angry to you when we didn't answer?" I told him the truth. No, it felt patient. That's when the rule changed again. We added a new one, never written down. If the voice speaks first, if it doesn't imitate someone you know, if it sounds like it belongs there, that means it's learning. And when it learns how authority sounds, how concern sounds, how safety sounds, silence alone won't protect you anymore. Because the forest doesn't need you to answer. It just needs you to believe it's guiding you. The first time the voice used a radio, we almost lost someone. Up until that point, the rule had been simple. If you hear it, don't respond. Silence was distance. Distance was safety. The radio changed that. It happened on a night shift in early March. Cold, dry air, clear sky. No weather interference. 3 rangers were on duty, 1 at the station, 2 out in the field. At 2:41 a.m., Ranger Eli Morgan radioed in from Sector C, near the old Firebreak Trail. His voice was steady. "Dispatch, I'm hearing G traffic on my channel that isn't logged. Can you confirm?" Dispatch replied immediately. "No unusual traffic, no open frequencies, no cross-channel bleed." Eli acknowledged and stayed put. 2 minutes later, the radio clicked again. This time we all heard it. Not static, not interference. A clean transmission, calm, measured, professional. "Ranger Morgan, you're clear to proceed. We've adjusted your route." Everyone froze. That voice didn't belong to dispatch, but it sounded exactly like it should. Same tone, same cadence, same authority. The station dispatcher tried to respond, but her mic wouldn't transmit. Eli answered before anyone could stop him. "Copy that. the moment he spoke, the channel went dead. All radios, all frequencies. No static, just silence. At the station, we tried landlines, cell phones, satellite backup. Nothing would connect. Outside, cameras around the station showed the forest standing completely still. No wind, no movement. At 2:49 a.m., Eli's GPS signal stopped updating. His last location showed him parked on a service road that doesn't exist on any current map. An old road, decommissioned 20 years ago. We waited. That was the hardest part. At 3:58 a.m., every radio in the building came back online at once. Eli's voice came through, distorted but alive. "I'm back on the main road. I don't remember leaving it." We told him to return immediately. When he arrived, he looked fine. Physically, mentally, something was wrong. He kept apologizing for missing the turn, even though there was no turn to miss. He asked why the trees looked newer on the drive back. Then he asked a question that still sits with me. Why did dispatch sound closer than usual? We reviewed the audio logs the next day. There was no record of the voice, only Eli's response, only silence afterward. That's when we understood the real danger. The forest didn't just mimic voices anymore. It understood systems, hierarchy, procedure, authority. It didn't need you to answer casually. It just needed you to follow instructions. We updated the rule again. If a voice comes through the radio that you weren't expecting, even if it sounds official, even if it uses correct codes, even if it knows your route, you do not acknowledge it, because once you confirm you're listening, it knows exactly how to guide you off the map. The voice eventually stopped pretending to be human. That's when things got worse. Before, it copied people, dispatchers, rangers, lost hikers. Sometimes it sounded concerned, sometimes annoyed, sometimes helpful. But after the radio incident, the imitation began to slip. The first sign was timing. The voice no longer waited for quiet moments. It spoke during active communication. It interrupted, cut across real voices, finished sentences no one had completed yet. The first documented case happened on a night patrol near Deadfall Creek, a narrow area where the trees grow unusually close to the road. Ranger Holt was reporting a fallen branch blocking the trail. Mid-sentence, another voice came through the radio. Not loud, not urgent, just present. That obstruction isn't there anymore. Holt stopped talking. Dispatch hadn't said anything. I told Holt to remain silent and back the vehicle slowly. He complied. The branch was still there. But the voice continued. You're remembering it wrong. That was new. The voice wasn't giving instructions anymore. It was correcting perception. When Holt returned to the station, he admitted something we hadn't heard before. While the voice spoke, the branch did look gone, for a moment, like his eyes had accepted the correction before his mind questioned it. That's when we realized silence alone wasn't protection anymore. The voice wasn't just trying to be answered. It was trying to be believed. Over the next few weeks, reports increased. Rangers hearing footsteps matching their pace, trees seeming closer than they should be, roads that felt longer or shorter depending on what the voice said. Then came the incident we don't discuss openly. We call it the friendly night. A junior ranger, new, confident, well-trained, reported hearing a calm voice while parked near the valley overlook. The voice didn't ask questions. It didn't give orders. It just talked about the weather, about the quiet, about how lonely night patrols can feel. He didn't answer, but he listened. That was enough. When his shift ended, he drove back smiling, too calm, too relaxed. He said the night felt easy. The next morning, he couldn't remember most of it. By the end of the week, he requested a transfer. Said Pine Valley felt crowded, even during the day. Said sometimes he still heard the voice, but now it sounded like him. That's when command issued the last unwritten rule. If you hear the voice speaking casually, if it sounds friendly instead of urgent, if it doesn't demand anything, you leave the area immediately, because that means it's no longer hunting, it's settling in. And when the forest decides you're familiar enough, it doesn't need to call you anymore. It just waits for you to come back on your own. Pine Valley is still open to the public. That's the part people don't understand. There are signs at the entrances, weather warnings, wildlife notices, trail closures, but nothing that explains the real reason the rules exist, because there is no language for it that wouldn't sound insane. Internally, Pine Valley is listed as active. Dangerous, not restricted, active. That designation doesn't mean something is happening all the time. It means something can happen. And when it does, it follows patterns we've learned not to interfere with. The voice still appears, less often now. Or maybe we're just better at avoiding the conditions that invite it. No one patrols alone after midnight anymore. Radios are kept on passive receive only. If a ranger feels watched, they leave, no questions asked. And if someone hears a voice that sounds calm, familiar, or reassuring, they are removed from night duty immediately. We don't debate it, we don't investigate further, because the last time we tried to understand it, we lost someone. Ranger Eli Morgan resigned 6 months after his incident. No explanation given. He still sends postcards from different places. Deserts, coastlines, cities, but never forests. Never mentions Pine Valley. Once he wrote a single sentence. Some places don't want to be explored. They want to be listened to. I think about that often. The voice doesn't threaten. It doesn't chase. It doesn't force. It waits. It learns what sounds like authority, what sounds like comfort, what sounds like home. And if you answer even once, it doesn't take you immediately. It lets you go. So you'll come back willingly. That's why the rule is simple. If you hear a voice in Pine Valley, if it knows your name, if it sounds like it belongs, do not answer, because the forest isn't lost. It's listening, and it remembers who listens back.